Hey there, I'm Lance and I'm a gamer.
I'm Sam and I'm a non-gamer.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers.
And today we're taking a look at Citizen, the 117th Congress edition by Steve Barger and Gray Smith.
Now, Citizen is a card game in which you are playing as a politician trying to promote your cause and earn enough votes to pass through the Senate and House. And if you're the first player to do that, you win the game. This is a game that ran on Kickstarter a while back. And now there's a new 117th Congress edition because this game hopes to come out with a new edition with each new Congress. And so the next time Congress re-elects new people and there's a new Congress, the 118th Congress, there will be a new edition of this game. But right now, as it is, we have the 117th Congress. So we have the 117th Congress edition. Let me show you how this particular game works down below, and then we'll come back and share our thoughts on it as a gamer and non-gamer. All right, here's Citizen 117th Congress Edition. This is the game of American Crusaders, Innovators, and Mediators. Let me show you guys how this politically themed card game works, in which you are going to be trying to get a certain cause passed through the Senate and House first before all the other players are able to do so. You got this beautiful board here, which represents the different chambers of Congress. You've got your Senate on your left and the House on your right. And you have a whole bunch of cards in this game. Your Senate cards are obviously going to match different senators, such as two from my home state here. You've got James Langford and Jim Emhoff, and you can see here their political affiliation up in the top left, as well as the different things that they care about, these different icons here on the left, and the different difference that they have in their sway in their respective chambers of Congress. You can see here that James Langford gives you 5 points, which is the same as one little notch here on this track, whereas Jim Emhoff would give you 15, and that is good for 3 notches on the track here. You also have your Democrats, such as Chuck Schumer here, and he's going to give you 10. And you also have raging Republicans and Democrats, such as Mitch McConnell here. He is going to give you 15 points, but he is a raging Republican, and we'll explain what that means here in just a minute. And there are also those that are null or no political affiliation. Bernie Sanders here, he's not going to be a Democrat or Republican. He can be applied to either or. And that is going to be the Senate deck here. Your your House deck is going to be very much the same. And there's another U.S. representative from my home state, Stephanie Bice. And you are going to, again, have similarities here with the different icons and how much sway they have in their state. And you're going to see people that you recognize if you're familiar with American politics, such as AOC here from New York. And that might be something that interests you with this particular game. Nancy Pelosi, she gives you a whole bunch of points here, 45 to be exact, the Democrat from California. And you have some circumstance cards, which we'll come back to here in just a second. These are going to be your player pieces. You have 4 in this game. You've got the green prosperity marker or standee, the blue liberty standee, the red might standee, and the yellow Providence standee. And whichever one you end up choosing, you're going to place on your respective track that you start the game in, starting up there. And you'll choose whether it's Senate and House based off of your cause that you are trying to pass in this particular game. You have several different types of causes. They are going to come in different degrees of difficulty. You've got your 1-star causes, which these are kind of your, as you learn about the game, as they are not going to have any political affiliation tied to them. They're all going to be null, as denoted by that O in the very top symbol there. And then you have your 2-star variety ones, which are going to have political affiliations to them. And you can read about what they are, such as the Truce on the War on Drugs, House Bill 103. And there's some flavor text there at the bottom telling you what it's all about and the different icons that you are going to be trying to get on your citizen cards to help you to get your cause to pass. You do also have your 3-star causes, your 4-star causes, which are really difficult to do. But that's not all. You do also have your ultimate causes, which are going to have prerequisites to accomplish. So I need to get House Bill 101-A, closing the revolving door, done, and then do House Bill 101-B in order to win the game. So these come in pairs. And normally you do play 2 causes at a time. You're going to choose one to play that is your public cause, and then another one that you are going to keep hidden from the other players, and that will be your secret agenda that will only come into play if you feel like you have to abandon your public cause. But that's a more advanced variant for this game. You can just play with one cause. And you just select which one you want to do. All players pick the one that they want. So I might pick the Truce on the War on Drugs, and it's going to go right here on my cause slot. And everybody's going to be able to see that. You can get rid of the rest of the cause cards for the game. Now, also real quick, there are more House cards. You do have House cards that come in more stacks here. You've got some that are going to have letter B on them, and you're going to have some that have letter C on them even. And so this adds a ton of replayability to the game, as you are only supposed to play with one letter stack at a time, and you could swap out A for B or C or just whatever you want to do. So there's a lot of replayability, and you can see that we have a ton of citizen cards over here, which I will explain here very shortly what they do. So what is it that you are trying to do in this game? Well, as I said, you want to get your cause to be passed through the Senate and the House, and this is a House bill, so I start the game in the House. So I will put my marker up here on the start track for the House, and I want to get my marker all the way around the board, either passing with a simple majority or a super majority, and then I will start trying to get that bill passed through the Senate as well. Again, either getting a simple majority or a super majority. And if I complete both of those tracks first, then I win the game. And that's a little harder, a lot harder to do than how I just explained it, but what will happen is everyone will get a hand of citizen cards dealt to them, and you will draft the ones you want to keep, passing the ones you don't to other players, and repeating that process till you have a full hand of cards. So what are going to be on these cards? Well, you're going to have real events that have happened in American history that are going to be tied into different causes. So these are some of the examples of the cards that you might see, such as the agribusiness industry, which happens to be something that is very closely tied into my war on drugs, the Truce on the War on Drugs. As you can see, we have matching icons for this particular cause. Now, it is important to point out that just because icons might look like they match, they don't necessarily match if they're not filled in. You can see here that these are the same shape, but this one is not filled in, and that is because this card actually goes against my particular cause, whereas this one, since it is filled in, would go for my cause. So that's an important thing to take note of when you are drafting your cards. So what do you do with these cards? Well, on your turn, you are going to be playing a set of cards that corresponds to this chart. And you can see this is a player aid that comes in the game. And so you are trying to make sets, level 1 set, level 2, 3, or 4 set, and you can see how the different icons come into play. So when I am making a set with the cards that I have in my hand, I can try and match just the political affiliation, which is the weakest type, or I can try and match on the topic, which is the bottom one, which is the strongest suit. And so playing these two cards, even though they're not the same political affiliation, is super powerful because we match on the bottom here, and that's two cards that match for topic. And what that is going to let me do is that's going to give me a level 3 set. You can see there with the handgun there, that would be a pair of the bottom ones. And so I would get to do the benefit for supporting my cause, which is to either let me have a 7-card hand or to get 3 nay votes swayed over to yay votes. I'll explain what that is here in just a second. But that is one of the aspects of this game, playing sets, trying to support your cause, or playing sets against other players, trying to do harm to them. So if somebody were playing against me, they may play this card since it is opposing my particular issue on commerce here, and they may use it against me, and that would be a level 1 opposition. As you can see there, level 1 is the match there for one of the middle icons, and they would get to flip one of my yay votes to nay votes, and that is not good. So what are those yay and nay votes? Well, at the beginning of a turn, you are going to flip over a Senate or House card, depending on which track you're on. So in my case, it would be a House card, and I would take a look at who this person is. It is Don Young. He's the Republican representative from Arkansas, and I would check to see if his political affiliation matches what my cause is, which in this case, it does not. And so he would not automatically support my cause, but he's not automatically going to go against me. If he were a raging Republican, he would not go for my cause no matter what I do, and so he would just be discarded to the bottom of the deck. But as it is, he may come around and he may vote for my cause, so I'm going to place him in my nay stack. And so my nay stack is going to be right here. And why I keep them in this stack is at some point they could be swayed over to my yay stack whenever I can get certain levels that allow me to do that. That's what this yin and yang icon represents. Now, if on the other hand, it had been a Democrat and he had not had anything that goes directly opposing my particular cause, then he would come right here to my yay stack, and I would be able to advance that number of sections on that particular track, which in this case is 3. And so I would just simply advance 3 spaces on down my track. Now, as I play different sets of cards and earning votes, that you can see there it says 2 votes, that's going to allow me to flip over 2 more cards. And I would repeat the same process, hopefully earning myself more votes, progressing down this track. And once I get to this particular section of the board, I could choose whether I just want a simple majority and take the shortcut route, or if I want to go to the full-on supermajority. It is more difficult to do that. Obviously, I have to go a longer pathway, but the advantage is that nobody can take this away from me. If I just get a simple majority, somebody might be able to play one of these special cards, which comes in the citizen deck, a veto, which would veto my bill, and I would have to basically go back and redo this track, getting the super majority. So that would be something that would set me back. There are, as I just showed you, special cards also in the Citizen deck that you can attach when you are playing, such as a level 3 set or a level 4 set, level 2 set. You get the idea, to be able to do the special benefit that is listed on these cards. Now, if there ever comes a time that you don't want to gain the benefit that you earned with your set, you can forego gaining that, whether you're supporting or opposing an opponent, and you can draw one of these circumstance cards. You'll also draw these circumstance cards anytime you end your turn on one of the spots with the weather vane icon. And what these cards are going to do, a little bit of randomness, such as lying under oath, and this is President Bill Clinton, 1998. And if your particular cause matches any of these icons out here, you'll get whatever it lists out here to the side. These are votes, for instance. And if it doesn't pertain to you, then no big deal. You'll just get rid of it. But it could be something that helps you or hurts you. Now, when I do advance past one of these markers here, again, either getting the simple majority or the super majority, as I mentioned, you are going to start over on the opposite side of the track, gaining one of the respective tokens for the track that you just completed, whether that be for a simple or super majority for the House or the Senate. Real quick, this is the token Sesame Tray Holder. For more information on it, you can check the link down below in the description of this video, and there's a discount code there for you to check out. And you would take one of these tokens, placing it on your cause, again, either for the simple majority or the super majority. And if I, as I mentioned, am able to get both tokens, one for the Senate and one for Congress, then I am going to be the winner. And that is how you play Citizen. Let's go back up top and share our thoughts on this one. And we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on Citizen from a gamer and non-gamer's perspective. So Sam, are you a fan of politics?
I'm not. I've gotten more into politics lately, but I wouldn't say I'm into politics.
Okay, fair enough. I am definitely not into politics. However, I enjoy government and learning about how the way government works. I just don't know that I enjoy what is happening in our world as far as the way government works. But I enjoy the concept of it, if that makes sense. Now, it playing out in a game fashion, whether that be a board game or some other kind of modality, I do enjoy that aspect. I think it's an interesting concept. It's one that I wish would happen more often in board games. So seeing a board game like this actually does pique my interest. What does it do for you?
I mean, yeah, I feel like I learned something, but then I'm questioning how accurate is it because I don't know a lot about how the government
Need to go back to social studies class.
But if it is accurate, then I did learn something.
Now I will say, and we started this video off saying those things because I do think it's important that you guys understand where we're at, not necessarily where our political allegiance lies. We won't get into that, but just how political are we? Do we enjoy politics or not? Because I do think that's an important thing with this particular board game. I think if you're somebody who just absolutely doesn't like politics at all, this may not be the game for you. So with that out of the way, back to what Sam said, is this accurate? Is this a good representation of it? And I do think that the rule book does a good job of addressing why it chooses to do some of the things that it does and how it is geared in a way for it to be accurate. Now, it's a little bit abstract-y, if that's a word, because you're playing these cards to influence people to vote. And while that sort of does happen in real life events do happen, and it does sway people left or right or somewhere along the line. This game does it in a hand management way. So there's a little bit of an abstractiness to it, but by and large, it is a good representation of the way Congress actually works. Now, let's talk about the game itself and the mechanics, and is it fun? Is it an enjoyable experience? What were your experiences playing this game?
I mean, I think that I really liked how it looked. It looks very official.
Yes, it does.
It's a great board game, or game board. Yeah. It looks really great.
The artwork is great on this.
I think it has a picture of all the representatives. All the representatives for all the state, their affiliation, what they're promoting.
What are their interests? What are their big things?
That was very interesting, and it's very accurate. So I really did like that aspect of it. And then, you have to go through the House and then go through the Senate. You can get the
simple majority or the super majority.
Yeah. So I do feel like, the minimal that I know about government and how it works, I do feel like that is pretty accurate. And I think it's a good learning opportunity. It says for ages 13 plus. I think this would be great to have in a government classroom or something like that.
Absolutely. That was one thing I really wanted to make a point to say in this video, is that I think this would be a fantastic educational tool
even if
in a government class.
If we don't play this, super regularly, I would love to keep it as our children get older. We have an almost 11-year-old, and he's going to be learning about this stuff soon, and I feel like this could help kind of solidify some of those concepts.
Yeah, I will absolutely agree with that, and I think it's something that could be used in the classroom type setting. It really kind of helps to demonstrate just what it takes to get a bill into becoming a law. And how voting works and how the political parties will align and manipulate and do some craftiness. That does happen, and I think it's a good experience into showing a young person exactly how that works, or even just somebody who's just not educated on the topic. So is it enjoyable?
Parts of it were. I mean, it's definitely a fairly straightforward game. I will say, I'll wait till we get into our pros and cons, but it was enjoyable. There was definitely parts of it that were enjoyable, and it was fairly easy to understand how to play.
I think it's fairly easy to understand after you've played probably half a game or so. Because I really did have some questions going through the rule book and how certain things worked, so much so that I did have to message the designer of the game and just straight up ask him and said, tell me, how does this play out? What happens in this situation? So I do think that there are still some unclear spots the way the rule book is written that could be revised a little bit better in the 118th Congress edition, and maybe they will do that. But once you understand what it is you're trying to do and the mechanics that work in this game to make that happen, it's a pretty straightforward thing. You're wanting to get good hands and play your cards at the right time to make things happen for yourself. Now, I will say that it does feel like the luck of the draw plays a bit of a factor. There's drafting, and so you're comprising up your deck, but you might be picking from, well, this card really doesn't work for me, and this card doesn't work for me so much as either, but maybe I really don't want her to have it, so I'm going to keep it just so she doesn't get it. And then once that card gets into your hand, you can't really do anything with it. So that will happen, and it will feel like I don't have all the cards I really want to have to make big turns happen in this game. But that may be kind of really what it's like in real life when it comes to politics. So let's get into pros and cons with this game. So Sam, what are the things that stood out to you in a good light?
Like I said earlier, I think seeing the representatives, seeing their actual picture and what they're, I mean, if anything, it's educational in that aspect. And just kind of figuring out how that would work with, you know, if you're different parties, but they do have some things that you share. You know, it doesn't always come down to Republican or Democrat. You know, sometimes it's different things, and in fact, that's kind of the least important. In all of it, which was interesting. So I think the learning aspect of it, learning who the representatives are, and learning about what's important when it comes to trying to pass a law and things like that. So I think they did a good job with that.
Yeah, I think the theme, and we've talked, you know, you're not a huge theme person. You don't really like games with a lot of theming.
Yeah, but this is different. This isn't a pasted on theme. This is a real thing. You know, does that make sense?
It's a real life thing.
It's a real life thing. It isn't like, hey, let's add, I don't know, Friends to the front of it and call it Friends Congress. You know, this is a real thing that happens in our lives.
All right. Fair enough. I think what you're saying there is that this is a real life thing tied into board gaming mechanics, and they kind of go hand in hand to show you how it works in the real world kind of way, in a board game sense. Okay, so some other pros maybe for this game that I kind of connected with and I enjoyed about this, it really does feel like you can impede other people's progress by stealing away their votes, making them become your own votes. And I think that's true to the theme as well with this game. I think that's something else that really ties into it. I don't know if that works so great with non-gamers. It definitely does work great for gamers because we kind of enjoy that you know, taking out each other from and kind of the head-to-head nature of that experience. I don't know that the powers of the suits are in line with how hard it is to make those hands. That might be a con that I have with it. So it feels like it can be really difficult to make a level 3 happen sometimes, or even a level 4 especially. And I feel like I should be getting a bigger advantage or a bigger plus for making that happen.
What are those cards called?
The power cards.
I feel like the power cards and the rest of the cards should be in 2 separate stacks. They should not be mixed. I feel like you should be able to draft. You draw 2 from the power cards, and you draw the rest from there, because at the end you're limited to how many power cards you're supposed to have in your hand anyway. So I feel like that would be a much better way, because I ended up with a lot more power cards and I felt like
can't do a lot with them.
And then you have to trade in the power cards you have, because you say you have 6 and you're only allowed to have 4? Actually, I think I had like 8. So I traded in the extra 4 and just got randomly what was on the stack. So it didn't even matter what my card drafting had been.
Okay. You're getting random things at that point.
I was at a loss because and then none of my cards, there's many hands where I literally had nothing I could play, and I would just discard them and pick a new hand.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a con for me too, is that does happen in this game. It feels like, with a 5-card hand, and you're shuffling that deck. Now, granted, yes, you selected you selected all the cards, but in what you described, you do sometimes get some randomness in there too.
Yeah.
But even though maybe I've drafted, 8 cards that could really work good in a set, but then I might have drafted 5 other cards that worked in a different kind of set, and those 2 sets don't really mesh together to create what I need to have happen. If I don't get enough cards out of one set of over the other, hopefully I'm making sense here, I can be stuck with a hand that are great cards individually, but don't work together as a set, if that makes sense.
And I think that's what continued to happen to me. And I don't really know. I think separating the power cards from those would be a fix, and maybe that's how we play it next time.
Okay.
Maybe we'll try that. But I understand that they are trying to make it very realistic, and these are the categories that this representative is pushing for. Mm-hmm. And so when you have this bill deals with this and this and this. So there's just so many icons that sometimes you'll only see one icon one other time. And that happened to my card. I had separation of church and state, and there was one other card that had one of my symbols on it. I never saw it again.
So again, I think that luck of the draw plays a pretty big factor in this game, because unfortunately for Sam, I saw a lot of those cards and I was drafting them so that I made sure she wouldn't get them.
Yeah.
So that does play a factor in this game, is, you want to play a lot, you want to take some cards that, other people are probably going to want, that are going to promote their causes, and you want to use them to keep them away from them or to use against them.
Yeah.
So you do have a luck of the draw play a factor in this game for sure. All right, let's get to our scores on this game. Scale of 1 to 10, love to hate. Where does Citizen come in for you?
It's not a game that I want to play often, but I felt like I learned something, and like I said, I really want to keep it for our kids. I feel like between this, we have By the Vote, we have the JFK, and we can have a great election year party night.
All right.
Board game night. But they all kind of teach you something, and I think that it's a great way to learn things that are hard concepts by playing a game.
Yeah.
And I think it does a good job of that. And I look forward to seeing how the next edition may come out.
Okay.
So I feel like this can't be just thrown in with every other game we've ever played.
Yeah.
If we can do like educational games, I'd probably give it a 6.8.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah. I'm glad you said the things you said there, because I really had a lot of the same thoughts. I feel like to say it's on the same playing field as all these other games and any other board game out there is not really fair to it, because it's really serving to probably educate more so than just the gaming aspect of it. Yeah. Although it really is a game, it really does have good gaming mechanics built into it. Drafting, hand management, a little bit of take that.
Yeah.
So it really does have that tied into it. It is a game. It is not just a teaching tool, but it is a great teaching tool.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I think we do have to look at it a little bit differently. And I was going to say 6.9. So I think we're right in the same area, same ballpark.
Yeah.
And I agree with Sam. I think this is one that we're going to hold on to just because of what it can provide.
Yeah.
And what it's trying to do. I think it does what it's trying to do very well. So we're going to hold on to it and use it for what it's made for.
Yeah.
So hopefully that gives you a good idea of what Citizen is all about. Leave us some comments down below. Let us know what you think about it.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.